Sonic game. This is Sonic in his true form, and with this new version I can play as 2 additional characters. You may not know who they are, but I can give you the rundown real quick. You see, Ray and Mighty are from Sega Sonic the Hedgehog, which was an arcade game released only in Japan that I should get around to sometime. Mighty was also one of the main stars in Knuckles Chaotix for the 32X, Knuckles' only game of his own, and you know, that got me thinking, has Tails ever had a game of his own? I think that's a little hard to believe. Or is it? Tails Adventure for the Sega Game Gear. In the late 80s and into the early 90s, the home console scene was on its way to fully making the jump to 16 bits, and the portable market was just about to re-establish itself in quite a big way. Nintendo would give us the Game Boy on July 31st, 1989, and Atari followed with the Lynx later in September. Between the two, the Game Boy stood out for its solid games and simple portability and price tag, but even with the Lynx having color, its bulkiness and poor battery life couldn't stack up against the monochrome brick. Over the next year or so, Nintendo would assume dominance over the handheld market, but Nintendo's biggest rival at the time, Sega, decided to challenge the Game Boy with their own portable system, the Game Gear. Released in April 1991, the Game Gear also had a color screen, but was also bulky and suffered from a poor battery life like the Lynx before it. But it still performed better than Atari's Cat, showing off what the boy was lacking over the Gear in an aggressive marketing campaign and having some good titles to its credit. One of its later releases was Tails Adventure. This game was released in November of 1995 to average to slightly average reviews from critics, which isn't real surprising. It's hard for a sub-character to break out on his own game, especially when you get rid of the franchise's key feature of going fast. Yep, we're going slow. But it isn't all too bad. Normal moving platformers are just as good as any, and getting to play a game as Tails before he could talk in his annoying little voice should be an interesting treat. So let's take a better look at Tails Adventure. After several stints of being the sidekick of Sonic the Hedgehog, it's time to see what Miles Tails Prower has to offer. Will it be any good? It's possible. You control Tails and have to fend off the invading Cuckoo army invading Tails Island. Yeah, you heard me right. Tails had his own island at one point. He was much better off before he met Sonic. But yes, this game takes place before Tails met the Blue Blur, where he just chills out and relaxes on his own freaking island before the Cuckoo army try to take it for themselves. I mean, it makes sense they would go after his island. They wouldn't stand a chance in Hyrule. But anyway, it's time to get up off our stump and get to playing. So as I hinted at earlier, this isn't the kind of Sonic game that you can just fly past all the things happening around you. No, this is a slow-paced 2D platformer. Tails can merely walk around strutting around the burning forest of level 1 like it's nobody's business. But there are enemies and obstacles that we need to get by, and we have our trusty bombs. I know he's efficient with mechanics, but I didn't know he was the fat man of the Sonicverse. But do use your bomb weapons to get around obstacles or through hostiles, and I must mention you can fly for a brief period, but you'll tire yourself out after a while, so fly wisely. The goal of the levels is still the same, where you have to get from point A to point B, where more likely than not there will be a boss to fight. And when you defeat that, you can move on. If you want. Okay, it wasn't that much of a dramatic reveal. You see, by level 2, you may notice that there are a few sections in the level that you may not be able to complete without some form of assistance, which is why it's important to know about this game's two very important features: exploration and item collecting. All of the 12 stages are just filled to the brim with new items and abilities that can help you out on your travels. It'll be in your best interest to locate whatever you can, as any help will be necessary to move on in any capacity. For example, the Chaos Emeralds can help extend your flight bar so you can fly longer, or this small robot can help you get through areas not meant for your size to help you locate more items. Other items can include weapons and other gadgets that'll be put into good use at some points. Not to mention you can collect rings for health, but unlike other Sonic games, when you get hit, you'll only lose a few rings instead of them all. However, the rings are a bit scarce, so still be careful. You'll only be able to handle 4 items at a time, which you can switch to by pausing, but if you want to switch out items for others during the level, then you're shit out of luck, for you'll have to get out and go to Tails' house and exchange items there. So there are some RPG elements involved, which is interesting. It gives something more to this Mario Wario Land-esque game. I don't know about you, but I see some similarities with this game to the Mario and Wario Land series. That's how I look at this game, really. A departure from the norm that is still fun to play. I mean, you can also be in some vehicles. I wonder where they got that idea. This game can also be described as a Metroidvania, which it very much is, and I'm just learning about this genre as I play this game. Basically, in the interconnected Tails Island, you'll need to get upgrades to access more levels and better weapons in order to get by harder levels and bosses. And hopefully in time, when you're able to backtrack and find all the items you need to succeed, you'll be able to send those cuckoos packing and celebrate with Tails crafting a robot in the spitting image of himself. And that's how you play, for the most part. Sorry if I wasn't able to show everything greatly with the way I'm recording it, but hopefully this has influenced you nonetheless to pick this game up sometime. It may not be your typical adventure in the world of Sonic, but it's still an interesting one the devs at Aspect came up with. Credit to all who were involved. If you're done going fast for a bit, why not do it slow by getting the gear and checking out Tails' origin story? Glad they made one for a Sonic character anyway. When will we get others in game form? The music was composed by Kojiro Mikuza, and I would have to say it's pretty decent for a Game Gear game. It's quite diverse, having tracks to fit every level and situation, but I would say it is missing the traditional Sonic charm where the tracks just jam to keep with the fast action. But this is Tails' game, and the slower tunes do fit right in, so it's not bad at all. It's just right. It could have been much worse. Like Jacob hosting this show kind of worse. Maybe he's learned. Never doubt to shoot twice. Besides an extra password feature, when it comes to extra content on Tails' Adventure for the Sega Game Gear, it goes a little something like this. There isn't enough info about how many copies this game sold, but I will say this wasn't his only venture released around this time, as Miles Prower got another game, Tails Sky Patrol, released exclusively in Japan on April 28, 1995. But after that, he wouldn't really get a starring role again, unless you count Tails and the Music Maker on the Sega Pico. Tails has since been a constant in the Sonic verse, appearing by the Blue Blur side on all of his games, TV shows, comics, and possibly the movie since his first appearance in Sonic 2. Today is no different, but it's less than likely now that Tails could ever get another game just for himself. So, what is my rate to play? It's good that Miles Prower stepped out of Sonic's shadow for a blip to take us on a portable journey through his beginnings. It gave us an experience we won't be forgetting soon. Tails' adventure was a unique spin on the traditional gotta go fast mantra, instead slowing things down to give Sonic players a challenge and casual players a run for their money. It may be a footnote in Sonic history, but it's good to know that Tails did get a game all his own.
Hey, I did it! I did it all by myself!
That you did, Tails. That you did. To conclude, I give this game a play rate of... should play. But that's only my opinion. If you have your own thoughts, leave a comment. If you like what you see, leave a like. If you think others could enjoy this, share it around the web. And if you want to see more, subscribe. Anyway, this has been BrianTheBlue Game Reviews, Tails Adventure for the Game Gear. Ryan here saying thanks for watching my game review. You can find me elsewhere like on Co-op.com where me and my friends play through various games for you to see. We do Let's Plays and weekly shows, having fun and getting frustrated in the process. Subscribe today to see what we play next in the coming weeks. Plus, I run the Starfighters Arcade channel. I work at a retro arcade in real life, and there we cover the arcade games with regulars as well as providing tips. You can find out more about the arcade in our commercials, so check us out when you have the time. But don't forget, I have plenty of other content on this channel with original series like quick views, console reviews, AC reviews, and current calamities. From software to hardware, I provide any and all gaming reviews. Check out Jacobians further to see what I have to offer. That's all the promotion from me. Click the I to go watch either the previous or upcoming episodes of Game Reviews. That was an okay game. Too bad they didn't go on any more adventures after that.